Howdy Rock Buds, it's Papa. One of our most excellent rock buds has requested a video on Rocktown, which is located on Pigeon Mountain in extreme northwest Georgia. So let's take a look at Rocktown and see what we can find out. And if you like this video and it's useful, please subscribe. Thank you so much to all my fantastic subscribers. Here we go. Rocktown on Pigeon Mountain in Georgia. Rocktown is located on Pigeon Mountain in the northwest corner of Georgia. Pigeon Mountain's a long, narrow mountain that stands about 2,300 feet above sea level, a little lower than its neighbor Lookout Mountain. Pigeon Mountain is in the Cumberland Plateau physiographic province. Further north, this plateau is called the Appalachian Plateau and also the Allegheny Plateau, the same plateau all the way up the eastern United States. When you take a look at Rocktown, you see it is an incredible array of pinnacles that stick up about 30 or 40 feet in the air. And incidentally, these provide outstanding rock climbing opportunities, and so Rocktown is a haven for rock climbers. And before we proceed any further, let us make sure that we understand that Pigeon Mountain is not a volcano. It is not a volcanic caldera, anything but, and far, far from that. These funky hoodoos of Rocktown are made out of Pennsylvanian period sandstone and sandstone conglomerate. And I want to tell you a little bit of the geologic history of how all this was formed. Here are the rock layers of Pigeon Mountain, and you can see on the top river conglomerate and massive sandstone. That is the rock layer that makes up the hoodoos of Rocktown. So why are the rocks of Rocktown formed into these hoodoos? Because originally the rocks of Rocktown were a more or less solid layer of sandstone. Well, the answer is, is erosion. Erosion and weathering take mountains, grind them down into sand, and wash them down into the ocean. And that's been going on for millions and millions and millions of years. And so these processes, freeze, thaw, have chopped this fairly consistent layer of sandstone into pieces, maybe the nature's way of divide and conquer, and slowly are washing them down into the ocean. Let's go back to, say, Devonian time, when Proto-Africa was approaching Proto-North America and getting ready to crash into it. As it approaches closer, the Proto-African continent is pushing down on the Proto-North American continent, and this creates a basin that we call the Foreland Basin. The first sediment laid down in this basin is a layer of black shale. This black shale layer always comes first, and it tells geologists that it is the beginning of a crashing event. This black shale layer we call the Chattanooga Shale, and then a layer of chert, bedded chert, was laid down on top of the shale. We call this the Fort Payne chert, and these form the base sediments layers of Pigeon Mountain. As the Foreland Basin became more shallow, a real thick layer of limestone was formed. This happened during the Mississippian time period, and so we call this the Mississippian limestone, although it has several local names. All the great caves in Pigeon Mountain and other mountains at the base of the Cumberland Plateau are in this limestone layer, and the soils in the valleys formed by this limestone layer are very rich in calcium, and that has created a flora that's very rich in unique and wonderful wildflowers. Then Proto-Africa crashed into Proto-North America, creating a range of Himalayan-sized mountains that immediately began to erode sediments into the Foreland Basin on top of the limestone. Layers of mud, which are the thin gray layers in this picture, came down from the mountains, and then layers of sand and layers of mud and sand alternated with each other as the basin was filling up. Finally, massive layers of sand dominated the erosion sediments as erosion took place faster and faster in earnest. All this sand coming down created a gigantic coastal plain with these braided river channels that probably look something like the area around Savannah, Georgia looks today. River channels were filled with pebbles that had been smoothed off over eons of rolling down the rivers, and that's what created the river conglomerate layers, which today look like layers of sand with all these smooth, quartzy pebbles embedded in it. These massive swamp forests with these fern-like trees covered much of the world at the time and eventually created a huge portion of the world's massive coal reserves. Over millions of years, erosion cut these sand and conglomerate layers into the hoodoos that we call Rocktown. Okay, Rock Buds, hope this helps. And thank you so much for watching. This is your Rock Papa saying happy rock hunting. Papa out.